me, the Watch Dogs series has always been a bit meh. I mean, it's an open world game made by Ubisoft, who insist on using open worlds for all of their big titles. I've never been a fan of how Ubisoft make their games either, as they're notorious for copy and pasting systems from one game to the next. It creates the feeling that you're playing something you've seen many times before. Something like a parkour system, tagging enemies before you assault an outpost, or third-person shooting mechanics. In the case of Watch Dogs 2, it also has to distance itself from one of the best open world series ever made, Grand Theft Auto. Quite frankly, Watch Dogs 2 is so similar to GTA 5 that I bet if someone was shown both games side by side, they'd struggle to tell the difference. I know that I would. So considering how Ubisoft homogenise their games, and the similarities to GTA, we have to ask why anybody would play Watch Dogs 2. Well, the answer is something that none of these other games can offer, and that is, of course, the hacking. Over the course of my Watch Dogs 2 review, let me explain why the hacking mechanics, along with Ubisoft's presentation of San Francisco, are so strong, so well thought out, that they alone are enough to label the game a success. But unfortunately, every single time this thought crossed my mind, I was quickly reminded of the similarities, the blandness, the repetition, that turn Watch Dogs 2 into a complete and utter slog. In my opinion, rather than focusing on Watch Dogs' similarities to other games, we should be celebrating its differences instead. In Watch Dogs 2 you play as Marcus, a millennial hacker who's recently been accepted into DedSec. DedSec wants to take down an evil tech company called Bloom, whose operating system has infiltrated every part of our lives. It controls traffic signals, the police surveillance program, and can even be installed in your house for extra security. It's a bit like Alexa, but instead of being a friendly voice to answer our stupid questions, it records everything you do and reports it back to the operator. Actually, that's exactly like Alexa. The game is set in San Francisco, with the biggest tech companies in the world literally down the road in Silicon Valley. There's Noodle HQ, or Google, Invite or Facebook, Galilei or SpaceX, and Tidal. Actually, I'm not sure what Tidal's supposed to be. You can visit here at any point in the game, but the main missions take you inside each of these locations, which felt a bit like a virtual tour. As I would probably never step inside actual Google HQ, it was cool that I've now got pretty close. Overall, the presentation of San Francisco is some of Ubisoft's finest work. They chose to celebrate San Francisco's liberal nature by including bright colours everywhere, on shop fronts, on houses, and even in unique graffiti scattered across the city. The use of colour is a core design pillar of the open world, and can even be seen in mundane places like a boiler room. Most games would use greys and reds here, but Ubisoft were committed to injecting colour into every pixel of Watch Dogs 2. They've also made sure San Francisco is nicely detailed, as you'll often wander in on a group of people mid-conversation, hanging out, or see people busking in the street. It creates the illusion of a living, breathing city where there could be a new surprise waiting around every corner. This setting is perfect for Watch Dogs 2, as Silicon Valley is nearby, but it's also perfect for any open world game. As San Francisco is a popular tourist destination, there are things to see and do everywhere. Golden Gate Bridge, Pier 39, and Alcatraz to name just a few. And Ubisoft makes sure these landmarks are a large part of the game. When one is nearby, your phone buzzes, and if you take a photo next to the landmark, it's ticked off a list. It's a really inventive way of including collectibles in the game, and I'm not kidding when I say, this is the most fun I had in Watch Dogs 2.
That's what I'm talking about!
It's a fine example of virtual tourism, and it was refreshing considering we are all in the midst of a global pandemic. As I explored San Francisco wearing my stupid t-shirt, taking snaps of anything interesting I could see, nothing else mattered. I was reminded of the power of video games, and how they can create positivity even in the worst of times, and I have to commend Watch Dogs 2 for that. When you're not acting like a tourist, there's actually a game to play in Watch Dogs 2. Unofficially, it's split into two halves. In the first half you raise the exposure of DedSec and gain more social media followers, and in the second half, you take down the tech giants of Silicon Valley. As you complete missions or activities, you gain followers which levels up your character. And with each level, there's points to spend on skills, which range from marksmanship to remote controlling vehicles. The remote control was a personal highlight of all the abilities. It can be used to move a vehicle forwards, backwards, left or right, and it's helpful for many situations. It gets rid of that annoying feature in other open world games, where you're running after a car ages to hijack it. Here that's not a problem, as you can remotely control the car, slam on the brakes, and make it reverse towards you. It's genius, and I can't believe no one has thought of this until now. The remote control is also helpful when reaching higher places, as you can hijack forklifts, mobile platforms, and even huge cranes. This is a really cool idea in principle, but in practice it doesn't quite pay off. For example, there's a side mission where you graffiti Golden Gate Bridge. This should have been a standout moment as we look out across the bay from high in the sky, but instead we get this. Apart from this minor issue, the hacking mechanics are Watch Dogs' strongest suit. Each one is creatively designed and allows you to manipulate your environment in interesting ways. Like in Watch Dogs 1, you can hack traffic lights or cause underground gas pipes to explode. Both are great during police chases, as pursuing cars get blown up behind you, creating moments of intense action. Other abilities aren't as over the top as this, as most are focused on stealth. I think the best example is one ability that plants incriminating evidence on someone's phone. This causes the police to rush to the scene and try to arrest them. Although, if you call the police on a gang member, it may lead to unexpected results. A lot of the missions are designed around these mechanics, hacking, stealth, and bending them to your will. You'll usually start by sending in your quadcopter drone for an initial survey, and following up with your RC bumper once enemies are tagged. The bumper was a lot of fun to control, like I was a kid again playing with a remote control car, but it's also great for stealth. It's tiny so it can sneak through vents, zip past enemies, and even interact with door panels to unlock the way for Marcus. The bumper also reminded me a lot of R2-D2, a charming little robot with an extendable arm for jacking into devices. The gameplay using the mix of bumper, quadcopter, and Marcus's abilities is great. It's a lot of fun controlling them all individually, and more so when their unique skills combine to complete a mission. But unfortunately, as the game progresses, it starts to wear thin, as you're constantly asked to do the same tasks over and over. You have to either solve a hacking puzzle, access a remote terminal, or download data with Marcus. I didn't count, but it felt like 80% of the main missions followed exactly the same structure. You drive to an area, sneak past guards, interact with an objective, and escape. That's it. Ubisoft has tried to create variety by setting their missions in unique environments, like Noodle HQ, or my personal favourite, a gang hideout beneath a butcher's shop. But other than a handful of times, like sneaking into Noodle, or the Galilei rocket hangar, it's just not successful. The side missions are no better. They felt like the daily quests in an MMO, or the bounties in Destiny 2. Spray paint 4 billboards, hack 4 operating systems, hack the phones of 3 people wearing mouse masks. Yeah, that last one is a bit odd. Some side missions even follow the same structure as the main missions. I noticed this at its worst when you sneak into Alcatraz to free a prisoner. Alcatraz is a key location in San Francisco, a location with a lot of history, and a location that I was really excited to visit. But you get there, sneak in, free the prisoner, and sneak out. I couldn't believe it. Like most things in the game, this opportunity was wasted. If you've played Watch Dogs 2, you're probably thinking that there are missions that don't follow any of these structures. And yes, they are definitely in the game, and yes, they are great. But for every great mission in Watch Dogs 2, it's drowned out in a sea of repetitive ones. This would be fine if the narrative was exceptional. I mean, there are incredible indie games with basic gameplay and an incredible story. And I played Wasteland 3 recently, which admittedly doesn't evolve gameplay over its missions, but it has a detailed narrative with interweaving layers of complexity. In Watch Dogs 2, the narrative has no complexity, no drama, and as a result, no tension. It's frustrating because Watch Dogs 2 is in a perfect place to ask interesting questions about our own way of life. Questions like, is privacy dead? Is free will an illusion? And is big data manipulating us? Occasionally, these types of questions are asked, and there are moments when the game dips its toe into greatness, like when we focus on a presidential election and the manipulation of voters through social media, or the housing crisis in San Francisco, or even the lack of ethnic diversity in Silicon Valley. But every single one of these issues was only shown on the most basic level. The cause and effect is never developed, no depth is added, and the end result is a generic good guy versus bad guy plot. And this is really where Watch Dogs 2 starts to fall apart.
Well, Venus must have been in retrograde or some bullshit, because I think it was fate that I was in the night that you hacked into our system.
The writing for one is really bad across the entire game. All of the characters have woeful lines.
Alright, keep your chin up. Peace!
But the worst offender was Doosan, the CTO of Bloom Corporation and the game's main villain. And how do we know Doosan's a villain? Because he does stereotypical villain things like be an arsehole to literally everyone and act like a total dickhead 99% of the time. It's never clear what his motives are, other than the most obvious reasons of money and power. Seriously? Let me give you an example of just how bad the writing is. There's this scene early on when Doosan jogs from his penthouse apartments in the centre of San Francisco down to the beach at Golden Gate Bridge just to psych Marcus out. It is so bad.
Have a good party.
But there was an even worse moment later on, when Marcus and Doosan meet again. Here it's revealed that Doosan has hacked into the FBI's mainframe and added Marcus to their most wanted list. And this is what happens next.
Roll fucking punch.
These are a few examples of moments where the writers try to force tension into the story. As there's no tension in the script, they make their characters act in over-the-top ways to add drama. It doesn't work. Instead, we have a melodramatic story, like we're all taking part in a soap opera.
Why'd you prop up DedSec's numbers?
The whole story just feels like unbelievable moment after unbelievable moment. Like after Marcus is on the FBI's most wanted list, what does he decide to do? Marcus, how about you go into hiding to avoid being arrested? No, he doesn't do that. Instead, he heads to Burning Man Festival and just happens to meet this legendary hacker called Ray, who's basically the dude from The Big Lebowski. The dude also wants to take Bloom down and he's like, I want to kick Bloom in the nuts, so let me join you. And then you take magic mushrooms and trip balls in the desert. I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. I really enjoyed exploring this area, as it was well designed and visually interesting, but all of the hard work put in by the environment artists is ruined by the wafer-thin plot. It's a shame. The story also goes off on so many unnecessary tangents that it harms the pace of the game. Like getting involved in a gang war and sabotaging their cocaine supplies. What? These moments should not be in the game and they force us to question why they're here in the first place. We can only ask these questions, but I'd put money on one answer. Because Grand Theft Auto does it. In order to appeal to the widest possible audience, Watch Dogs 2 has incorporated many aspects of GTA. There's the dialogue while you're driving from location to location, although here it was mostly pointless. It didn't reveal anything about the characters except they love talking about pop culture, like who would win in a fight, Alien or Predator. There's the wanted system, you can hide to reduce your heat level here too. And there's the gangs, the actual Grand Theft Auto, and the ability to gun down innocent civilians. But Watch Dogs 2 is not GTA, it has the potential to be something different. It's about hackers who act like cyber ninjas sabotaging their enemies from behind the scenes. That alone is a good enough reason to play, we don't need the GTA stuff too. It also creates this feeling that nothing in the game matters, as the GTA mechanics contradict the entire game. You've probably heard of the following term, but just so everybody is on the same page, I'll briefly explain what ludonarrative dissonance is. Ludonarrative dissonance is where the actions of us, the player, go against the actions or motives of our character. An example of this would be Fallout 4, where your baby son has been kidnapped, yet you spend 50 hours exploring the Commonwealth rather than rushing to save him. Obviously no parent would ever act like this, but we, the player, force them to. In the case of Watch Dogs 2, ludonarrative dissonance is created by making Marcus perform awful crimes, which goes directly against the morals of DedSec. Now in Watch Dogs 1 this is fine, as Aiden is a grizzled vigilante and the tone of the game is dark. And in Watch Dogs Legion this will also be fine, as the tone is dark there too. But here, the tone is light-hearted and follows a group of millennial hackers with cheesy one-liners and banter everywhere. I mean, you're telling me this guy knows how to operate an AK-47?
Peace!
Ubisoft have also included missions to show us that DedSec are the good guys. Like the time you steal $20 million from a CEO and donate it to a leukemia charity. So why then am I allowed to do this? This has always been an issue in open world games inspired by GTA, but elsewhere, systems are added to fix it. In Sleeping Dogs, a game set in Hong Kong where you play as a cop, there's a good cop, bad cop meter, which gets filled depending on your actions. Being able to perform violent crimes makes sense there, but in Watch Dogs 2 it makes no sense whatsoever. If nothing makes sense, if nothing matters, then I find it difficult to be invested in the plot, and to be honest, in the overall game as well. I'm confident this was discussed at Ubisoft during development, as there are systems suggesting you're not supposed to play this way. For one, gunfights are really difficult, as you have low health and you're often outnumbered. This leads to the toughest enemies being bullet sponges if you don't upgrade your damage. But more importantly, there are non-lethal weapons in the game like a stun gun, stun grenade launcher, and a paintball gun. I found these weapons amazing to use as they were unique to Watch Dogs. The stun gun in particular was a standout weapon across the entire game. It was within these moments that I saw what Watch Dogs could truly be. A stealth game with detailed hacking mechanics and non-lethal weaponry. Because sneaking into a base, stunning guards and then sneaking back out was an incredible experience. But it seems like the directors at Ubisoft were unwilling to take the risk. The risk to profits if conventional weaponry was absent from their game. They'd lose the GTA crowd, but in the process of keeping them, they've lost what makes Watch Dogs 2 great along the way. Although exploring virtual San Francisco was one of my favourite experiences in a long time, and even though the hacking mechanics are superb, the generic narrative, uninspired mission design, and unbelievable systems drag the game down. I expected to play Watch Dogs 2 and get excited for Legion, but that's not what happened. Now, I'm more worried than ever. All I'll say is, enter Legion with caution. It looks great, but if the missions and narrative are as bad as this, I'm not sure I'll be sticking around for too long. Thanks for watching my review of Watch Dogs 2, and see you on the next one.